Hi, my name's Matt, and this is Pimp My Ride.
Hi, I'm Madeline.
Hey, I'm Wesley.
Hi, I'm Molly.
Today, we're going to tell you about raccoons.
Rag city, rag city. What's that on that beat?
Common raccoons are nocturnal mammals belonging to the order Carnivora. Adult raccoons are 2 to 3 feet in length and can weigh anywhere from 14 to 40 pounds, though suburban individuals continue to push the limit. When first classified, they were believed to be a type of bear, but were eventually decided to belong to their own family, Procyonidae, along with animals such as the kinkajou and the ringtail. The name of the genus Procyon means dog-like, referring to their general body shape, and the specific epithet lotor means washer, after their moisture-adapted eating behaviors. Raccoons have a sensitive membrane on their front paws which is more malleable when wet, so they tend to nest near rivers where they can douse their front paws to better manipulate food. Despite being their namesake, much evidence on dowsing suggests that it has nothing to do with washing the item of interest, only serves to improve dexterity. Raccoons are endemic to North and Central America, but have been introduced around the world. They are present almost everywhere in the United States with access to water and climbable trees, including all of California's coasts and mountains. Though originally confined to forests, their opportunistic diet and behavior and climbing abilities have allowed them to thrive in cities, particularly when we can't see them. Raccoons are generalists, adapted to thrive under a wide variety of environmental conditions and diets. Their thick, dense coats provide resistance to cold and hot temperatures and varied climates. Though their preferred diet consists of crawfish and fruit, raccoons are omnivores known to feed on small mammals, insects, fish, nuts, birds, as well as roadkill and food scraps of any nature. Raccoons may be attracted to your property for any number of things available, including your outdoor fish, pet food, fruit trees, or anything else they think they may be able to get their paw hands on. Their separated digits, excellent spatial memory, and puzzle-solving abilities give them a unique capacity for destruction. Door handles and even locks are no problem for these clever creatures, and once they figure out how to get through your locks, they will remember for up to 3 years. As a result, a raccoon population will require special attention to keep out of your yard and home. If the raccoon on your property isn't seeking food, it may be looking for a nice home to raise a family in. Raccoons first begin to breed in the winter, and if unsuccessful, will continue into the spring. Their young, called kits, are born in litters of 2 to 7 and are altricial for the first 8 weeks, but will continue to live with, nurse, and learn from their mothers for up to 16 weeks. After the kits become fully independent, females will often remain close to their mothers and form a social group, while males relocate several miles to form their own loose social associations with other males. Within these groups, raccoons use a designated area as communal latrines, and male raccoons will also form hierarchies determining breeding priority. During gestation, female raccoons will seek out hollow spaces appropriate for a den and scavenge for nesting materials.
Tracks. Raccoon feet are kind of like tiny hands.
Are these baby hands?
No, they're raccoons.
As we heard before, they use these to grip food and other things like door handles. Each foot has 5 digits, but front and hind feet differ in their shape. Front feet are short, while hind feet are longer. Some things you could confuse these tracks with are those of house cats, opossums, and skunks. Damage. Overall, raccoon damage is very invasive. You will likely see damage that is too large and chaotic for a squirrel, rat, or other smaller species. Their damage can occur in many settings, from horticulture to agriculture to urban settings. Urban settings is really where the damage is most notable and severe. One survey from 2004 notes that 40% of producers surveyed took raccoon preventative actions within the last 5 years, spending an average of $167.25 per year to prevent damage. Beyond this, the cost of a single raccoon removal from a home can cost $350 to $500, and there are a lot of raccoons in the world. In horticulture, raccoon involvement can be quite invasive. These guys really like to dig for items of interest such as grubs and seeds. They can end up tipping over many pots and ruining a lot of plant material in their search, as has been seen at the horticulture unit and plant conservatory. They can also cause issues in landscapes, especially in turf and freshly laid sod. They will dig for grubs and can ruin large swaths of turf at one time. Raccoons can cause damage in agricultural systems. According to UC IPM, Raccoons especially like sweet corn and can do a lot of damage because they will climb stalks to grab the cobs. Beyond this, there is not a lot of information on the interwebs about other raccoon damage in agriculture, so this must not be a huge issue compared to their other nuisance behaviors. Raccoons, like many of us, think chicken is delicious. Poultry killed by raccoons has a specific look to it. Usually the head is bitten off and left somewhere away from the body. Crop and breast may be ripped and chewed, and bits of flesh may be found near water. Raccoons will reach through fencing if holes are large enough for their paws. As their appearance may suggest, raccoons can be criminal. On occasion, they commit home invasion. They can chew through drywall, roof tiles, and most materials that houses are made out of. Attics, chimneys, and crawl spaces are common den sites. The importance of removing raccoons from inside homes goes beyond them just being nuisances and making noises in your attic. Raccoons harbor ectoparasites that are very dangerous to humans. The parasite raccoon roundworm can cause serious disabilities in humans and especially children. These parasites are transferred to humans when eggs and feces are inhaled or ingested. Raccoons also harbor other diseases, including rabies and distemper. Because of this, make sure you remove infestations quickly when they occur, and if you may come into contact with material yourself, make sure you are protected.
Alright, today I'm going to talk to you about some raccoon habitats. Raccoons like to den on city property and residential property. Believe it or not, they don't really care about, legal terms and property lines and that kind of stuff. On city property, they like to den in storm drains, road culverts, parks, green belts, golf courses, etc. And in residential areas, they like to den in your backyard or your attic or your chimney or, your kitchen. When discussing the property of where raccoons like to den, it is becomes apparent that you need to have a community-driven approach to raccoon control, because if a residential area and residents were to control raccoons in their area, then the city would obviously need to take measures as well, or else the raccoons would not be controlled effectively. Alrighty, how can we do this raccoon management effectively? We can do some habitat modifications, such as metal trash cans with lockable lids. You should tie your trash cans down to avoid tipping over so raccoons can gain access to them. You should remove pet food from outside because they like to eat that pet food from outside. You should remove fruit from bushes or trees in your yard. Remove wood piles or pile of debris to mitigate some den sites for those raccoons. Prohibit roof access by removing, say, tree branches or bimini or shade canopy or that sort of thing with at least a 5-foot gap. And inform and involve your members of the neighborhood and community, because habitat modification only works across a widespread area. Another way to manage raccoons is by exclusion, arguably the most effective method of control. Raccoons are strong, clever, and have very dexterous hands. You should cover your chimneys with secure caps. Cover crawl spaces with 10-gauge galvanized hardware mesh, either a quarter or a third of an inch, and that mesh should be buried 6 inches below the soil surface and extend out from the structure a foot. You can add electrified wire 8 inches above the ground and 8 inches from any fence to raccoon-proof an existing fence, or you may add a 2-wire electric fence around, say, a newly sodded area or a koi pond, and that would consist of 1 wire running 6 inches above the ground and a second 12 inches above the ground. And this may be removed if you no longer need the koi pond or the sod has taken root.
Is another tactic that can be effective for getting rid of raccoons. There are many frightening devices on the market. These include motion-censored devices such as sound-producing machines, flashing lights, and water-squirting units. Scarecrows, flags, windmills, and other devices that move in the wind have also been used to drive away raccoons. As we talked about in class, frightening typically isn't the most effective way to get rid of pests. If the raccoons realize that there is no real harm coming from these devices, they will continue to cause damage. Trapping is a very effective way to control raccoons. However, it is not advisable for those unaccustomed to trapping raccoons to attempt to do so, and professional help is recommended. Besides being more prepared with equipment and such, professionals also have more knowledge about the biology of raccoons and are more equipped to deal with the intricacies of getting rid of the animals. Trapping and releasing raccoons in different areas is prohibited by law without a relocation permit, as released raccoons can cause problems to others in the area, like spreading disease and causing damage to property. Therefore, professionals must be able to euthanize animals humanely once caught. For euthanizing, a humane way to take raccoons is to place dry ice in a garbage bag around the trap and seal it. As far as pests go, raccoons are somewhat easy to capture. However, these animals can be very sneaky. The most common trap to use is a live cage trap. These traps should be at least 10 by 12 by 32 inches. However, larger traps are more effective. Bait should be placed in front of the trap as well as in the far end of the live trap so the raccoon will fully enter into the trap and set off the mechanism. Once set off, the door at the opening of the cage will close and lock. Baits that can be used include canned tuna, cat food, marshmallows, prunes, peanut butter, and grapes. Using canned tuna and cat food as bait can potentially attract non-target species, so choose carefully. Traps should be placed out in the evening time and closed in the morning to avoid catching non-targets. It is important to remember that these animals can be vicious, so trappers must exercise caution.
As for their legal status, raccoons are classified as fur bearers in California. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife determines when the fur harvest season is, which also determines when and how you can take raccoons. However, if a raccoon is causing damage, it can be taken at any time. In California, make sure you check before you hunt, because the seasons are different in different parts of the state. One season, generally in Southern California, runs from July 31st to March 31st, while in Northern California, the season runs from November 16th to March 31st.